Hey, what is going on, guys? In today's video, I want to have a conversation with you about mobility and what the right level of mobility is for this game, as for the first time in Season 8, since I've been playing, there's been a massive reduction to mobility. Every season, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, there's just been more and more mobility getting added to the game, and now we've actually had a regression in mobility, and I would argue that's actually a good thing. Now, if you disagree, have a different opinion, of course, feel free to leave a comment. Happy to discuss it with you. And the plan for this video is I kind of want to talk about what makes mobility good for the game and what mobility does that's negative for the game, and think about what would be the right compromise level of mobility. And with that, let's get started. So, there are some genuine great things about mobility that do make this game a lot more fun, okay? Let's think about some of the locations on the edge of the map that you might really enjoy. Now imagine those locations if you have zero mobility, no vehicles, no rifts, nothing. You just have to walk. Those locations become a lot less interesting and a lot less fun to land at, because if the zone lands on the opposite side of the map, you're gonna be spending 5-10 minutes of the game just running into the zone, right? If you land Junction and the zone is on the southeast, you need to leave like a minute before the zone even starts closing. It's just not very fun, let's be honest, to run around forever trying to get into the zone, right? And with mobility, it reduces RNG because you can land at those locations, and if the zone's far away, oh well, if you have mobility items, then it's not a big deal because you can just zip on over to zone and it's no big deal. The next thing is you're going to spend a lot less time searching for other players, right? If there's only 15 people after first zone closes, right? If you have mobility items and your other players do as well, you're going to naturally find each other more quickly, right? If you have to walk everywhere, it's going to take a long time to find people. And I think a lot of you, myself included, running around searching is just not very fun, right? The next thing, mobility items can be fun, right? I mean, flying around in quad crashers, it's fun, right? Shockwave grenades flying through the air, it can be fun. These mobility items aren't just serving the purpose of moving you around, you can have fun while using them. And finally, it rewards aggressive play, right? If there's someone camped up on a hill and you're on low ground, if you have mobility items or vehicles, you can use those to get up to your opponent and force an engagement, right? You spend a lot less time sitting on low ground because you're just stuck. You have ways to get up there. Now, after those positives, you probably think, wow, mobility is great. Why don't we have every single vehicle spawn everywhere, have 100,000 rifts, right? This sounds great. But there are serious negatives to mobility as well. What's one of the most annoying things you can have in this game is repeatedly getting third-partied, right? As soon as you start an engagement, there's another team attacking us. And then once you are fighting that team, there's another team and another team. And that can be really frustrating to never have any time to regroup. And mobility is going to create this problem, right? Because if there are mobility items, as soon as someone hears your engagement, they're going to fly and drive and whatever they're doing, right, to get to you quickly. But if they have to walk, they're going to have a delay, 30 seconds to a minute to get to you. So it's going to reduce the amount of third partying. And that means, when you take a fight, you can get it done, regroup, and then take the next fight and not have to continuously deal with being attacked constantly. The next thing is, without mobility, it keeps people alive longer, right? One of the biggest problems you can have is that you get to first zone is closing and there's only 10 people left in the match. Great. Now I'm just going to spend the whole game searching, right? But if you don't have mobility, while it's not going to affect the early game fights of people in their town, it's going to take longer for people exiting that town to find their next engagement. Let's kind of take an example. Let's say you land Pleasant Park, there's 3 other people there, you manage to eliminate them, and you're moving on to the next town, right? Maybe you rotate to Tilted Towers. If you have mobility, you can rotate there very quickly, in like 30 seconds, and then you can take your next engagement, and then there's only one person left, right? Of you two, the tilted person and the pleasant person. But if you have less mobility, it will take much longer for you to get there, which means that people are staying alive longer, right? And that means as the zone is closing, there's just more players in the match. There's more people to engage in battles with. And, one of the most frustrating things is just not have enough people. So it is a legitimate concern. And 3, this is more of an arguable point, but it really much more promotes mechanical play over strategic play and positioning, right? Because if there's less mobility and you are smart about it, you think, okay, zone's there, I'm just going to take the highest ground immediately. If there's not mobility, you are rewarded for that because there's no way for your opponent to get up there without doing an insane push up, 30 tiles of height. You're rewarded for thinking tactically and thinking, how can I put myself in a position to win? But with mobility items, that's just going to get nullified because your opponent can just rift up or shockwave up and basically skip all of that thinking you did to position yourself well. Whether that's a downside, debatable, but no doubt it's going to make the game harder because you can use those tricks, thinking tactically if you're not the best at the game mechanically. But if there's mobility items everywhere, well, then everyone can just skip your tactical thinking and just force a mechanical battle. So it's going to honestly make the game more difficult. Now, with that out of the way, you can kind of clearly see there's not like a one-size-fits-all argument here. Like, yes, there's a lot of advantages to mobility, but there's also a lot of downsides. What is the right compromise for mobility? In my opinion, I think Season 7, we just took things a bit too far. With planes, zip lines everywhere, drift boards, rifts, rift-to-goes, gliders, there's just too many ways to get around the map too fast. And I think it just took the situation a bit too far. But I also don't think reverting back to Season 4 era of having only hop rocks and shopping carts and having to run everywhere is a good idea either. I think there is a compromise solution. I think Season 8 has done a decent job with mobility. I wouldn't say, though, that putting back drift boards wouldn't be the worst idea. You could argue there's just not quite enough mobility. In certain spots, you can just feel like there's no way to get into zone. There's nothing around that'll help you move faster. So I think drift boards might not be a bad idea. But overall, I would actually say that I also would be okay with drift boards not coming back because I think the state of mobility is pretty good, where there's a decent amount of mobility items around, but you're not just getting third-partied repeatedly. People are staying alive, and I think that's good. I think this medium level of mobility we have right now is a fairly healthy spot. So again, if you disagree with me, if you have something to add, of course, feel free to leave a comment. Happy to discuss it with you. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.